Have you ever wondered why some people seem unstoppable while others struggle to reach their goals? The secret isn't talent or luck. It's consistency. In today's video, you'll discover how unwavering daily habits can break every limit you've ever faced, transforming your life from ordinary to extraordinary. We'll dive into practical, actionable strategies that you can start applying immediately to rewire your habits, master discipline, and achieve results you never thought possible. Stick around, because by the end you'll have the tools to unlock your full potential. Subscribe to Audiobook every day for daily inspiration and growth. Number 1. Build micro habits that outlast motivation. Consistency is not a force that appears overnight, nor is it a gift reserved for the extraordinary. It is the quiet, steady drumbeat of small, deliberate actions repeated without fail. The power of micro habits lies in their simplicity. They are tiny, almost invisible steps that over time accumulate into monumental change. The challenge most people face is that motivation is fleeting. One day you feel inspired, and the next, even the thought of starting feels heavy. This is why micro habits matter. They do not rely on a spark of motivation. They are designed to endure when energy wanes, when life pulls you in every direction, when resistance rises and excuses whisper in your ear. Building micro habits is building a fortress of consistency that protects your progress from the chaos of daily life. The first truth to understand is that human behavior is shaped less by grand gestures and more by the invisible architecture of our routines. A person who wants to run a marathon does not start with 20 miles. They start with a single mile, repeated until it is as natural as brushing their teeth. A writer does not produce a book in a week. They write a single page consistently, allowing habit to compound into mastery. Micro habits are deceptively simple, but their impact is profound because they shift the identity of the person performing them. When you commit to tiny, non-negotiable actions, you are not just performing a task, you are telling yourself, "I am the kind of person who follows through." Identity is the engine behind lasting change, and micro habits are the fuel. One of the most effective ways to build micro habits is to anchor them to existing routines. This is called habit stacking. By attaching a new habit to a current behavior, the friction of starting disappears. For example, if you want to begin meditating, do it immediately after brushing your teeth in the morning. If your goal is to journal, do it after your morning coffee. Linking new behaviors to established patterns leverages your brain's existing wiring, making the habit almost automatic. The smaller and more specific the habit, the more likely it is to stick. Instead of saying, "I will exercise more," commit to, "I will do 5 push-ups after waking up." Instead of, "I will read every day," say, "I will read 1 paragraph each night before bed." Success is not found in ambitious resolutions. It is found in tiny, repeatable actions that create momentum. Equally important is the principle of reducing friction. The world often conspires against discipline by placing obstacles between intention and action. Coffee beans are not in the kitchen. Your journal is buried in a drawer. Your workout shoes are tucked away in a closet. Every extra step you must take is an opportunity to abandon the habit. Micro habits survive and thrive when friction is removed. If you want to floss daily, keep your floss next to your toothbrush. If you want to write each morning, leave your notebook and pen open on your desk. If you want to run, have your shoes and clothes ready the night before. The easier the habit is to perform, the more likely it is to become a permanent part of your life. Tracking progress is another essential component. Human beings are wired to respond to feedback. Seeing evidence of your consistency reinforces the behavior, making it more likely to continue. Use a habit tracker, a calendar, or even a simple checkmark system. Every day you follow through, mark it. Watching the chain grow, day after day, builds an almost irresistible momentum. Missing a day is inevitable, but what matters is the resilience to restart immediately. The chain is stronger than the individual link, and the cumulative effect of repeated actions, however small, is staggering. Micro-habits also provide a shield against failure and discouragement. When goals are too large, progress feels slow and setbacks feel catastrophic. Micro-habits shift the focus from the distant outcome to the present action. Writing 1 paragraph each day feels achievable, while writing 10 pages at once may paralyze you. Walking for 5 minutes each morning is manageable, while running 5 miles may feel impossible. The psychological effect is profound. Small successes compound confidence and create a sense of mastery. Motivation may fluctuate, but the habit persists, carrying you forward even when inspiration fades. The human mind resists change, and discipline is forged through discomfort. Micro-habits make that discomfort tolerable by breaking change into manageable increments. They train patience and teach perseverance. Each time you follow through on a micro-habit, despite resistance, you strengthen your willpower and reinforce your identity as someone who does what they say they will do. Over time, these small victories accumulate, and the person you were yesterday is no longer capable of living the same way. Micro-habits build resilience and toughness, preparing you to face bigger challenges with the same steady determination. Actionable strategies for building micro-habits begin with clarity. Define the smallest possible step toward your goal. If your aim is to read more books, start with a single paragraph. If your goal is fitness, begin with a 5-minute routine. Small actions remove mental barriers and create a low-stakes environment where the habit can flourish. Next, create visible cues for your habit. Place your running shoes in the middle of the room. Keep your journal open on your nightstand. Make the habit impossible to ignore. Then attach the habit to an existing routine and perform it consistently at the same time each day. Use a tracker to measure success and celebrate consistency, not perfection. Finally, adjust the habit incrementally as it becomes established. Tiny steps grow into larger ones, but only after the foundation is secure. An often overlooked aspect of micro-habits is the emotional dimension. Human behavior is heavily influenced by feelings of pride, satisfaction, and accomplishment. Micro-habits create a regular experience of success. Each time you follow through, your brain receives a signal of competence and reliability. These emotional rewards compound over time, reinforcing the behavior in a way that sheer logic cannot. The quiet satisfaction of a small victory each day builds a resilient mindset, one that can face challenges calmly and persistently. Emotion and action intertwine, creating a feedback loop where doing leads to feeling, and feeling strengthens doing. The greatest challenge to micro-habits is impatience. In a world obsessed with instant results, small, steady progress feels insignificant. Yet, the truth is that time magnifies consistency. One small action repeated daily for a year transforms into an achievement that once seemed impossible. A single paragraph written every day becomes a completed book. 5 push-ups every morning lead to a body that is strong, capable, and resilient. The patience to trust the process separates those who are swept away by fleeting inspiration from those who forge lasting success. Micro-habits are the engine of that process. They keep you moving when motivation falters and ensure that effort, however small, is never wasted. Consistency also teaches humility. Micro-habits strip away the illusion of grand achievements without effort. There is no shortcut around repetition. There is no bypass for discipline. Every day the work is the work, and it is in that repetition, however mundane, that transformation occurs. This realization builds character, steadiness, and the inner calm to endure challenges without being overwhelmed by them. Micro habits train you not just to act, but to act with persistence, patience, and purpose. Ultimately, building micro habits that outlast motivation is about creating a life where progress is inevitable, regardless of external circumstances. It is about designing your environment, structuring your routines, and cultivating identity-aligned actions so that even on the days you feel tired, unmotivated, or distracted, you move forward. It is a daily act of self-respect, a commitment to becoming the person you aspire to be. Motivation may rise and fall, but the habits you build endure. They carry you through the storm, break through your limits, and transform potential into achievement. Micro habits are the quiet revolution of the ordinary. They are the invisible force that reshapes your life one small action at a time. Every paragraph written, every push-up performed, every journal entry completed is a vote for the person you are becoming. They are not glamorous, they are not flashy, but they are unstoppable. If followed with discipline, patience, and attention, micro habits will outlast motivation, outlast excuses, and outlast every limit you once thought defined you. They are the foundation of excellence, the secret of progress, and the key to a life transformed. The path forward is clear. Begin tiny. Remove friction. Attach habits to existing routines. Track your consistency. Embrace small victories, and trust the process. Over time, the invisible accumulation of these micro habits will create results far beyond what motivation alone could ever achieve. The most powerful change in life does not come from sudden inspiration. It comes from consistent, deliberate action, repeated daily without fail. Micro habits are the bridge between who you are and who you have the potential to become, and they will carry you past every limit you once believed was permanent. This is the essence of building micro habits that outlast motivation, a commitment to small, intentional actions that compound into extraordinary results, a strategy for enduring when energy fades, and a practice that shapes not just what you do, but who you are at your core. It is the first step, the foundation, and the quiet force that begins the transformation of your life. Number 2. Design systems that remove resistance. The most successful people in the world do not rely solely on willpower. Willpower is finite, fragile, and easily depleted by stress, fatigue, or distractions. The difference between those who consistently achieve their goals and those who falter lies in systems. Systems are the invisible structures, the carefully designed routines and environmental cues that make good behaviors inevitable and reduce the need to constantly rely on fleeting motivation. They are not glamorous, but they are powerful. Systems remove resistance, making the path to progress smoother, more predictable, and almost automatic. When designed correctly, a system does the work for you while you focus on execution. Resistance is the invisible force that sabotages progress. It appears as hesitation, procrastination, distraction, or even self-doubt. Every time you try to start a habit without a system, you face resistance head-on. Some days, resistance is easy to overcome. Other days, it can feel insurmountable. The truth is, resistance does not vanish with effort. It only diminishes when systems are in place. Systems are shields against the chaos of daily life. They ensure that even when your energy is low, your environment is aligned to help you act. They turn friction into momentum, complexity into clarity, and uncertainty into routine. One of the most effective ways to design a system is to map every step required to achieve your goal and eliminate obstacles at each stage. Every extra decision you have to make is a point where resistance can creep in. If you want to exercise in the morning, prepare your workout clothes the night before, place your shoes by the bed, and have water ready. If you want to write consistently, keep your writing tools accessible, open your document in advance, and create a quiet space free from interruptions. Systems do not rely on luck, inspiration, or rare bursts of energy. They make action inevitable by aligning your environment and habits with your objectives. A system is more than a routine. It is a strategy that integrates behavior, environment, and cues into a seamless flow. It leverages human psychology, taking advantage of natural patterns such as habit formation, reward loops, and mental priming. For example, if your goal is to eat healthier, a system would include meal prepping, keeping nutritious food visible and accessible, and removing temptations from sight. It works because it reduces the need for constant decision-making, which is where willpower falters. Systems work because they make the desired action easier than the undesired one. The less friction there is to perform a positive behavior, the more likely it will become ingrained. Designing a system also requires anticipating challenges and creating automatic solutions. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. A system is resilient, prepared for interruptions, distractions, and low-energy days. It accounts for the times when motivation is absent, ensuring that progress continues even when conditions are far from ideal. For example, a morning exercise system might include a backup plan for days when the weather is bad, such as a quick home routine. A writing system might involve a minimum daily word count, even if it's just one sentence. By anticipating difficulties, systems prevent small obstacles from derailing long-term progress. Another crucial element is simplification. Complexity breeds hesitation and gives resistance a foothold. The more steps required, the more opportunities there are for procrastination. Systems thrive when actions are broken into the simplest, most achievable tasks. Instead of a vague goal like get fit, a system focuses on specific actions. Do 10 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and walk for 15 minutes daily. Instead of read more, it becomes read 1 page every night before bed. Systems strip away ambiguity, making it clear exactly what needs to be done and eliminating excuses for inaction. Automation is also a powerful tool for reducing resistance. Technology, routines, and planning can take over repetitive tasks, leaving you free to focus on high-impact actions. Automatic bill payments, scheduled reminders, pre-planned meals, and recurring task lists are examples of ways to reduce mental load. Automation is not about laziness, it is about channeling energy where it matters most. When the mundane decisions are handled automatically, the mind can focus on growth, creativity, and executing important tasks without being drained by unnecessary effort. Consistency is a natural byproduct of well-designed systems. Once a system is established, showing up daily requires minimal mental effort. You no longer need to rely on motivation or inspiration, because the structure of your environment, combined with your established routine, nudges you toward the right action. Momentum builds, and with momentum comes confidence. The small victories, created by daily system-driven actions, compound over time, creating tangible results that would otherwise take far longer if left to chance or willpower alone. Systems amplify effort and make progress inevitable. Tracking and feedback are essential components of a system. Without measurement, you cannot know whether the system is functioning effectively. Simple tracking methods, such as calendars, journals, or apps, provide clarity on consistency and highlight areas for improvement. Feedback helps refine the system, remove friction points, and adjust for unexpected obstacles. For example, if a morning writing habit fails because the house is noisy, the system can be modified to write at a quieter time or in a different space. Systems are living structures. They are not rigid. They evolve as circumstances change, always designed to minimize resistance and maximize action. A well-designed system also protects mental energy. Decision fatigue is a real phenomenon. The more choices you face, the weaker your self-control becomes. Systems reduce the number of decisions required to act. For example, instead of deciding each morning what to wear for exercise or which task to tackle first, a system predetermines these actions. By reducing unnecessary choices, the mind is preserved for high-priority actions, making consistent achievement far more sustainable. Systems are not restrictive. They are liberating because they conserve mental strength for meaningful effort. Emotional resilience grows when systems are in place. Daily friction often erodes confidence and motivation, leaving people feeling incapable. Systems provide stability and predictability, reducing the anxiety of starting. When you know the steps are laid out, the tools are ready, and the environment supports you, the act of performing becomes almost automatic. This creates a sense of mastery and control, which reinforces confidence. Over time, as the system produces consistent results, self-trust deepens. You learn to rely on your structured actions rather than fleeting emotional states to achieve your goals. The ultimate power of a system lies in its ability to compound results. Small, consistent actions executed within a reliable structure create exponential growth over time. Reading 10 pages daily results in dozens of books read annually. A 5-minute meditation practiced each morning builds a mind resilient to stress over months. A system designed to reduce resistance ensures that progress is continuous, even when motivation wanes or circumstances change. Compounding results are the invisible force that separates those who achieve extraordinary outcomes from those who merely aspire. Designing a system requires patience and foresight. It demands careful observation of habits, environment, and daily routines. It requires asking tough questions. What tasks create unnecessary friction? Where is energy wasted? How can actions be made easier to perform and harder to avoid? Systems are intentional by nature. They are the product of thoughtful design and disciplined execution. The effort invested in creating them pays off infinitely, because once the system is in place, it guides behavior without constant effort or supervision. Every effective system begins with clarity of purpose. The action must be simple, specific, and meaningful. The environment must support it, and obstacles must be minimized. Automation, simplification, tracking, and anticipation strengthen it. Feedback allows refinement, and repetition transforms it into habit. Resistance is no longer an enemy. It is absorbed, redirected, and diminished by the structure you have built. Systems are the bridge between desire and achievement, transforming intention into consistent, reliable action. At its core, designing systems that remove resistance is about freedom. Freedom from indecision, freedom from distraction, and freedom from reliance on motivation alone. It is about creating an environment where doing the right thing is the easiest option, where progress is inevitable, and where effort is magnified by structure. Systems are the scaffolding that supports greatness, the framework that allows talent and ambition to flourish. They are not shortcuts. They are deliberate, intelligent paths that make consistent action unavoidable, turning effort into results and struggle into mastery. A life built on systems is a life of disciplined momentum. Each day, small decisions are made irrelevant because the system carries you forward. The barriers to action are minimized, the friction of resistance is removed, and consistent results emerge naturally. Designing such systems is not optional for those seeking long-term success. It is essential. When every habit, routine, and environment is aligned to support action, resistance becomes a minor obstacle rather than a relentless enemy. Systems are the quiet engine of achievement, and mastery comes not from force, but from intelligent design that makes progress the path of least resistance. The path to extraordinary results begins with systems. They remove resistance, conserve mental energy, create predictable momentum, and compound results over time. Willpower may falter, distractions may arise, but a well-designed system endures. It protects your habits, reinforces your identity, and transforms small daily actions into remarkable outcomes. Designing systems that remove resistance is the foundation of sustainable success. It ensures that effort is always productive, progress is always possible, and limits are consistently broken, not through brute force, but through thoughtful structure and deliberate practice. Number 3. Track progress with ruthless honesty. Progress cannot be measured in vague impressions or fleeting feelings. Success is not a matter of hope, desire, or good intentions. It is the accumulation of deliberate, observable actions and their outcomes. To grow, to improve, to break through limits, you must see yourself clearly, without distortion or self-deception. Tracking progress with ruthless honesty is not an exercise in self-criticism. It is an act of courage and clarity. It demands that you confront reality exactly as it is, recognize both strengths and weaknesses, and use that insight to refine your approach. Without honest measurement, effort is directionless, and growth becomes accidental rather than intentional. The first principle is visibility. What cannot be seen cannot be improved. Many people work hard without any real understanding of what is effective and what is wasted effort. Keeping a clear record of your actions, habits, and outcomes allows patterns to emerge. Journals, digital trackers, charts, or spreadsheets can serve this purpose. The key is specificity. Write down exact behaviors, quantities, or times. Did you exercise for 30 minutes or 15? Did you complete the task fully or leave it unfinished? Did you read 5 pages or 1? The truth is revealed in details, not in approximations. Observing reality clearly is the first step toward mastery. Ruthless honesty means eliminating excuses and rationalizations. It is tempting to soften the truth or justify missed goals. I tried my best, I had a rough day, or tomorrow I will do better. These statements obscure the reality of what actually happened. While circumstances may explain behavior, they do not change outcomes. Recording what truly occurred without embellishment or interpretation creates a mirror that reflects both success and failure without distortion. This mirror is invaluable. It allows you to pinpoint what works, discard what doesn't, and iterate relentlessly. Measurement is most effective when it is granular. High-level statements like, "I worked hard this week," are meaningless unless supported by observable evidence. Break your goals into measurable components. If your aim is to improve health, track exact workouts, calories, or hours of sleep. If your objective is productivity, note completed tasks, time spent focused, and distractions encountered. If personal growth is the goal, record instances of self-discipline, reflection, or skill practice. Quantifiable metrics leave no room for ambiguity and provide a foundation for informed decisions. Consistency in tracking is as important as accuracy. Sporadic observation creates gaps that distort perception. Tracking should be habitual, integrated seamlessly into daily routines. Morning or evening reviews work well, but the timing is less important than making it non-negotiable. A single overlooked day can begin a chain of self-deception. Each entry, no matter how small, reinforces accountability and strengthens awareness. Over time, consistent tracking produces a clear narrative of progress and exposes the points where improvement is needed most. Ruthless honesty also involves confronting uncomfortable truths about personal performance. Growth requires recognizing underperformance, errors, and patterns of avoidance. Many people avoid this reality, preferring comfort over clarity. They ignore missed habits, inflate achievements, or reinterpret failures. This is the trap that keeps potential dormant. By facing shortcomings directly, you gain insight into resistance, laziness, or poor strategies. Awareness is not punishment. It is a compass guiding necessary adjustments. Avoiding the truth prolongs stagnation. Embracing it accelerates evolution. Reflection is a critical companion to tracking. Recording facts alone is insufficient without interpreting their meaning. Ask yourself questions. Why did I fall short? What conditions led to success? What patterns emerge over time? Analysis transforms raw data into actionable intelligence. It identifies triggers for failure, opportunities for efficiency, and moments of exceptional performance. Reflection allows course correction and strategic refinement, ensuring effort is not wasted and energy is directed where it produces results. Each honest assessment strengthens decision-making and deepens understanding of personal dynamics. A powerful technique is to measure progress against standards rather than against feelings or comparisons with others. External validation and emotional impressions are unreliable guides. True assessment comes from aligning actions with clearly defined objectives. If your goal is skill acquisition, measure improvement objectively through performance metrics, feedback, or proficiency tests. If your goal is fitness, track measurable outcomes like endurance, strength, or consistency. Honest measurement is personal and grounded in reality, not in perceptions or social benchmarks. Tracking also cultivates discipline and accountability. It transforms vague intentions into observable facts. Recording progress forces the mind to confront action or inaction. A missed entry is an undeniable signal that a habit was neglected. Completed entries provide immediate reinforcement, solidifying behaviors. This accountability is internalized over time, creating a self-correcting mechanism that encourages perseverance and deters complacency. It removes excuses, making the consequences of choices unavoidable and real. Ruthless honesty extends beyond numbers to introspection and emotional clarity. It is not only about how much work you did, but also about how you approached it. Were you present or distracted, engaged or half-hearted? Honest reflection includes qualitative assessment of effort and attitude. This depth ensures growth is not superficial. It addresses mindset and character as much as performance. Progress tracked only in outcomes risks neglecting personal development. True mastery emerges when both actions and intentions are evaluated with equal rigor. Long-term growth depends on recognizing trends rather than isolated events. A single day of success or failure is insignificant. The pattern over weeks and months reveals your trajectory. Systems fail or succeed gradually, and habits compound slowly. Honest tracking uncovers these trends, allowing you to intervene proactively rather than reactively. Patterns highlight consistency or inconsistency, strengths or blind spots, providing actionable insight for strategic refinement. Awareness of trends transforms effort into intelligence, mistakes into learning, and repetition into mastery. Transparency with oneself fosters resilience. Life inevitably introduces setbacks, obstacles, and distractions. Without clear tracking, it is easy to feel lost, demotivated, or defeated. Seeing progress, even incremental, sustains momentum. Conversely, recognizing lapses allows recovery without delusion. Ruthless honesty reduces the emotional impact of failure because it frames reality objectively. Failures are no longer personal attacks, but data points for adjustment. Confidence grows when you know the truth and can navigate it wisely. Tracking progress rigorously also fuels motivation indirectly. Motivation is fleeting when based on feelings, but enduring when reinforced by evidence. Seeing tangible proof of advancement, even minor, generates a quiet, persistent drive. Awareness of past success fuels self-trust, which in turn makes future action easier. Each honest record becomes a testament to capability, persistence, and self-discipline. Motivation no longer needs to be conjured. It arises naturally from witnessing your own growth. Practical strategies include setting clear metrics for each goal, using a consistent method to record progress, and reviewing data daily or weekly without bias. Distinguish between controllable and uncontrollable factors. Measure effort as much as outcome. Combine quantitative data with qualitative reflection. Note successes, failures, patterns, and emotional responses. Adjust strategies based on trends rather than impulses. Honest tracking is iterative. Observe, analyze, act, and refine continually. Ultimately, tracking progress with ruthless honesty is about responsibility. It is about owning the reality of your life and choices, free from excuses, denial, or distortion. It creates clarity, reinforces discipline, accelerates learning, and transforms effort into measurable growth. Without this, even consistent action may drift aimlessly, and achievements remain partial. With it, every step, every decision, every habit becomes meaningful, and the person you are today moves intentionally toward the person you are capable of becoming. The practice is simple in principle, but profound in effect. See clearly, record accurately, analyze deeply, act decisively, and repeat relentlessly. The mirror of ruthless honesty reflects reality in full strength, weaknesses, successes, and failures alike. It removes illusions, replaces them with insight, and turns self-awareness into a powerful instrument of transformation. Each day of honest tracking is a brick in the foundation of mastery, resilience, and lasting achievement. By embracing this principle, life becomes a landscape of measurable progress, guided by truth rather than wishful thinking. Resistance, distraction, and fleeting emotions lose their power. The path to growth is no longer obscured by self-deception. Progress becomes tangible, strategy becomes informed, and potential becomes realized. Tracking progress with ruthless honesty is not merely a habit. It is the bedrock of self-mastery and the catalyst that converts intention into lasting, meaningful results. Number 4. Master boredom to unlock discipline. True growth often happens in the spaces where excitement is absent, where novelty has faded, and where the mind craves stimulation but none is forthcoming. Boredom is the unglamorous reality of progress, yet it is also one of the most powerful tools for building discipline. Most people avoid boredom at all costs, turning to distractions, social media, or entertainment to fill every quiet moment. This avoidance is what keeps them tethered to mediocrity. Discipline, however, is forged precisely in those moments when nothing is happening, when the mind wants to wander, and when patience and persistence are the only paths forward. Mastering boredom is not a passive skill. It is an active, deliberate practice that trains the mind to endure discomfort, focus, and continue acting even when the external world offers no immediate reward. The first principle of mastering boredom is recognition. It is important to understand that boredom is not a problem to be solved, but a signal to be interpreted. It is an opportunity for the mind to strengthen attention, for the character to exercise patience, and for the habits you are cultivating to take root. Boredom is the friction of progress. It is the weight that tests consistency. When you encounter it, instead of fleeing, observe it. Notice the urge to seek distraction. Label it without judgment. By recognizing the moment, you create awareness, which is the foundation of control. Awareness transforms passive discomfort into a deliberate opportunity for growth. The second principle is presence. Discipline grows when attention is anchored in the moment, regardless of its stimulation level. Many people assume that productivity and focus are contingent on excitement or engagement. The truth is that mastering any meaningful skill or habit requires sustained attention, often when the activity feels dull or repetitive. Writing, exercising, learning, or practicing any craft involves countless hours of seemingly monotonous repetition. Success is less about short bursts of enthusiasm and more about maintaining presence during extended periods of low stimulation. Training the mind to remain engaged in these moments builds endurance, resilience, and a mental edge that becomes invaluable in all areas of life. One practical approach to mastering boredom is deliberate exposure. Set aside time to engage in tasks that are meaningful but not inherently exciting. It could be long-form writing, cleaning, walking, or meditative practice. The purpose is to confront boredom directly rather than avoiding it. When you choose to endure moments of low stimulation, you gradually condition the mind to remain steady, focused, and productive. The sensation that once triggered restlessness transforms into a signal of opportunity, a reminder that progress occurs in the quiet and often uneventful spaces of life. Repeated exposure desensitizes the mind to the discomfort, making sustained effort natural. Another technique is the cultivation of small, structured routines that reinforce endurance. Rituals like morning journaling, deliberate reading, or repetitive exercise are inherently boring, yet fertile ground for building discipline. The predictability of these tasks allows the mind to focus on execution without relying on excitement. Over time, these routines become anchors, conditioning the brain to associate effort with automaticity rather than pleasure. Discipline is not a product of entertainment. It is the accumulation of repeated actions in the absence of immediate gratification. By choosing consistency in mundane actions, you cultivate an internal structure that supports long-term achievement. Boredom also serves as a mirror, reflecting the inner strength of character. How one responds to low stimulation periods reveals the depth of self-mastery. A person who immediately seeks distraction allows their environment and impulses to dictate behavior. A person who endures boredom asserts control over attention, energy, and action. This control is a cornerstone of discipline. Each moment of boredom is a test to succumb or to act deliberately. Mastering these tests rewires the brain, creating a resilience that extends to challenges far beyond simple monotony. The ability to persist without external excitement separates the inconsistent from the extraordinary. The psychological dimension of boredom is critical to understand. The mind craves novelty because it is biologically wired to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort. Discipline is an act of overriding this instinct without suppressing it entirely. It is about acknowledging the mind's urge for stimulation while choosing a higher purpose. Awareness, presence, and deliberate action transform boredom from a trap into a tool. Every time you persist in the face of mental inertia, neural pathways reinforcing attention, focus, and resilience are strengthened. The mental training gained from embracing boredom accelerates skill acquisition, habit formation, and overall personal growth. Practical application involves breaking tasks into manageable increments that are still capable of testing endurance. For example, rather than attempting to read an entire book in one sitting, commit to reading for 20 minutes without distraction. Instead of trying to complete a large project in one day, focus on a single repetitive component. This approach creates a controlled environment for mastering boredom while ensuring progress continues. The repetitive, low-stimulation effort teaches patience, builds confidence in process-oriented thinking, and reinforces the connection between effort and results. Mastering boredom also requires eliminating external crutches. Constantly checking devices, scrolling feeds, or seeking entertainment undercuts the capacity for discipline. Silence, stillness, and unstructured time are necessary spaces where boredom emerges naturally. These moments provide the laboratory for training the mind to remain engaged despite the absence of external reward. By reducing distractions intentionally, you create conditions in which attention can be honed and endurance cultivated. The ability to operate in this environment directly translates into greater effectiveness in all other areas of life. Accountability complements the practice of enduring boredom. Tracking performance during mundane tasks, noting attention lapses, and reflecting on moments of restlessness enhance awareness and self-regulation. These reflections allow iterative improvement, helping to identify patterns of distraction, emotional triggers, and strategies for sustained focus. Mastery of boredom is not passive. It requires deliberate observation, honest assessment, and refinement. Discipline is both the result and the feedback loop, reinforcing itself as the mind learns to tolerate discomfort and remain steady in purpose. Over time, mastering boredom produces a profound transformation. The mind becomes less reactive to external stimuli and more capable of sustained effort. Habits solidify because effort is no longer contingent on temporary excitement. The individual gains an inner calm, a confidence that consistency is possible even when circumstances are unremarkable. Endurance replaces impulsivity, focus replaces distraction, and deliberate action becomes second nature. The capacity to persist in low-stimulation environments creates a competitive advantage that is invisible to others but decisive in results. The rewards of mastering boredom extend beyond productivity. Emotional regulation improves as the mind becomes less dependent on constant stimulation for satisfaction. Patience grows as small repetitive tasks are endured without frustration. Self-mastery expands because control over attention translates to control over actions, decisions, and ultimately outcomes. Each unremarkable hour invested in deliberate effort compounds into skill, habit, and character. Boredom, once perceived as an enemy, becomes a teacher, a mentor, and a pathway to personal excellence. Ultimately, unlocking discipline through boredom is a process of deliberate confrontation, reflection, and repetition. It involves recognizing the discomfort, anchoring attention in the present, structuring actions to endure low stimulation, and eliminating distractions that compromise focus. It requires tracking progress, iterating approaches, and cultivating patience. The journey is unglamorous and often invisible, but its effects are profound. Those who persist through boredom develop a level of consistency and resilience that enables them to break through limits, achieve mastery, and excel in ways that excitement alone cannot sustain. The essence of this principle is simple yet transformative. Growth occurs where comfort ends, progress emerges where excitement is absent, and discipline is built in the space between desire and action. By embracing boredom intentionally, every moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen attention, reinforce habits, and deepen character. The capacity to endure, to act when unmotivated, and to persist in the ordinary creates a foundation for extraordinary outcomes. Mastery of boredom is mastery of self, and through it, limits that once seemed insurmountable are consistently surpassed. Number 5. Remove distractions before they remove you. Distractions are the silent thieves of potential. They creep in subtly, often disguised as harmless interruptions, entertainment, or seemingly urgent tasks. Each moment of divided attention is a moment where progress stalls, where energy dissipates, and where focus, arguably the most valuable resource, leaks away. The world has become a landscape designed to fragment attention. Endless notifications, infinite scrolling, constant messages, and the lure of immediate gratification. Every time the mind surrenders to these intrusions, it pays a hidden cost. Removing distractions is not merely a productivity tactic, it is a discipline of self-preservation. It is the conscious choice to reclaim time, attention, and mental clarity before these external forces erode potential. The first step in removing distractions is awareness. Many people are unaware of how often they are pulled away from what matters most. A glance at a phone, a lingering social media tab, or the lure of trivial tasks may seem inconsequential, but compounded over days, weeks, and months, these small deviations accumulate into significant lost opportunity. Understanding where attention is being siphoned is the foundation of control. Begin by observing patterns without judgment. Note the moments when focus drifts, when interruptions arise, and what triggers the compulsion to engage in non-essential activity. This awareness exposes vulnerabilities and highlights the areas in need of protection. The next principle is environment design. Attention is a resource shaped by surroundings. The more friction between you and distractions, the greater the likelihood that focus will endure. Phones can be silenced or placed in another room. Social media accounts can be restricted during key periods of work. Emails can be checked at scheduled intervals rather than constantly monitored. The workspace itself can be structured to minimize clutter, noise, or unnecessary stimuli. Every choice that reduces temptation strengthens the mind's ability to sustain concentration. The environment does not just support action, it enforces it. When distraction is physically and digitally distant, the mind has fewer opportunities to wander, and consistency becomes achievable. Intentional scheduling complements environmental control. Focus is strengthened when high-priority tasks are aligned with energy peaks and protected by deliberate blocks of time. Segmenting the day into periods of deep work and rest reduces susceptibility to interruptions. Each time a distraction arises outside these dedicated intervals, the mind is trained to delay gratification, reinforcing self-discipline. Structured routines transform attention into a habit rather than a choice, reducing the cognitive load of deciding when to focus and when to relax. Time becomes a tool, and interruptions no longer dictate the rhythm of action. Digital minimalism is essential in an age of constant connectivity. Notifications, alerts, and pop-ups are engineered to capture attention immediately, hijacking the brain's reward system. Each interruption, even brief, fractures focus and increases cognitive load, making subsequent work less efficient and more error-prone. Eliminating or controlling these signals creates a space where deep concentration can flourish. This might involve turning off unnecessary notifications, using application blockers, or setting strict limits on screen time. By reclaiming control over digital inputs, the mind is freed to act deliberately rather than react impulsively. Understanding the psychological mechanisms behind distraction deepens mastery. Distraction is often a response to discomfort, boredom, or avoidance. The mind instinctively seeks novelty or stimulation to escape unpleasant feelings. Recognizing this impulse allows conscious redirection. When the urge to check social media or divert attention arises, pause and identify the feeling prompting it. Is it avoidance of a challenging task? Is it fatigue? Once the underlying cause is acknowledged, action can be chosen deliberately rather than reactionary behavior being dictated by habit or emotion. Awareness transforms distraction from an automatic reaction into a manageable signal that guides improvement. Prioritization reinforces focus. Distractions often appear urgent even when they are inconsequential. Differentiating between what is truly important and what merely appears demanding is critical. Create a clear hierarchy of tasks, anchored by long-term goals, and use it as a decision filter. When interruptions occur, evaluate them against this hierarchy. Many distractions will dissolve when examined rationally. The act of choosing deliberately what deserves attention cultivates self-mastery and reduces the risk of energy being wasted on tasks that do not contribute meaningfully to progress. Physical and mental preparation amplifies resistance to distraction. Adequate sleep, nutrition, and movement are foundational to maintaining attention. Fatigue and depletion increase vulnerability to interruption, making even minor distractions tempting. By prioritizing these basic elements, the mind is fortified, making it easier to sustain focus over extended periods. Mental preparation also involves setting clear intentions before beginning work, defining the exact task and the desired outcome. A clear mental roadmap reduces hesitation, increases engagement, and limits the mind's susceptibility to wandering. Distraction is also mitigated through the cultivation of discipline itself. Each time focus is preserved in the face of interruption, mental strength grows. Enduring boredom, completing repetitive tasks, and resisting low-value temptations are exercises in self-mastery. Discipline is iterative. It strengthens with repeated practice, producing a feedback loop where focus begets more focus. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to prioritize meaningful action over immediate gratification, rendering distractions less compelling. Mental endurance, once developed, allows performance at high levels even in environments saturated with potential interruptions. Systems further reduce the impact of distraction. Automatic habits, checklists, and structured routines decrease the reliance on continuous decision-making. When essential actions are embedded in pre-established patterns, the mind is less likely to wander. For instance, a morning routine that includes exercise, journaling, and focused work provides momentum before digital or social temptations appear. Systems act as scaffolds that protect energy and attention from being depleted unnecessarily. By creating automatic pathways for action, the influence of external distractions is minimized and consistency is reinforced. Reflection and assessment complete the cycle. Periodically review the sources and frequency of distractions and their impact on results. Honest evaluation identifies weak points in habits, environment, or strategies. Adjustments can then be made to further shield attention, refine systems, or strengthen routines. This process ensures that distractions are not merely resisted reactively, but are anticipated and mitigated proactively. Reflection transforms awareness into improvement, creating an ongoing mechanism for maintaining mental clarity and focus. The long-term effects of removing distractions are profound. Productivity increases, not just in quantity but in quality. Decisions are clearer, thinking is sharper, and tasks are completed with greater efficiency. Beyond output, the individual experiences a sense of control and mental calm, free from the constant tug of fragmented attention. Time once lost to trivial interruptions is reclaimed, and energy once drained by constant context switching is preserved for meaningful effort. The ability to focus deeply becomes a competitive advantage, a skill that multiplies effectiveness in every area of life. Ultimately, removing distractions before they remove you is an exercise in self-respect and intentional living. It is a recognition that attention is precious, that focus is a resource, and that external forces will continuously attempt to fragment it. By structuring the environment, managing technology, cultivating discipline, prioritizing effectively, and reflecting on habits, one creates a space in which meaningful action becomes the path of least resistance. Focus becomes habitual, attention becomes controlled, and progress becomes inevitable. Distractions lose their power not through avoidance alone, but through the deliberate, consistent design of a life aligned with purpose, clarity, and deliberate action. The principle is simple yet transformative. Identify interruptions, Anticipate their emergence, design the environment and routines to minimize them, strengthen internal discipline, and reflect to refine continuously. Every small choice to resist a distraction compounds, gradually building the capacity to sustain concentration over extended periods. Removing distractions is not a one-time effort, but a continuous practice that shapes identity, enhances productivity, and allows the individual to achieve results far beyond what scattered attention could ever permit. In this practice, the ordinary hours of the day become powerful, deliberate, and productive. Distraction cannot be eliminated completely, but its influence can be contained and controlled. By recognizing the forces at play, preparing systems to counter them, and strengthening mental endurance, focus can be protected as a vital asset. Life becomes more intentional, energy is preserved for meaningful work, and achievements grow exponentially. The individual who masters this principle reclaims time, preserves mental clarity, and creates an environment in which limits are surpassed, not by luck, effort, or motivation alone, but by deliberate, disciplined attention. Number 6. Show up, especially when energy's low. The true measure of discipline is not how easily one performs when conditions are favorable, when motivation is high, and when the body feels ready. It is how one acts when energy is scarce, when fatigue presses down, when mental clarity is dull, and the body resists. Those moments define resilience. The ability to show up when energy is low separates those who achieve consistently from those who rely on bursts of enthusiasm. Success is less about peak performance and more about unwavering presence, even under conditions that feel uncomfortable, inconvenient, or exhausting. Showing up when it is difficult is the silent force that accumulates into extraordinary results. Energy ebbs and flows naturally, yet many individuals allow fluctuating states to dictate action. Waiting for peak energy is a trap because life rarely provides ideal conditions on demand. Delaying important work until the body or mind feels ready is a habit of avoidance, dressed as prudence. Progress does not wait. Tasks do not postpone themselves. Results are produced by those willing to act regardless of transient energy levels. The first step is accepting that low energy is inevitable and that action taken in this state builds strength, endurance, and confidence. Each time effort is applied under resistance, a new layer of self-mastery forms. Understanding the relationship between energy and action is crucial. Physical fatigue, mental exhaustion, or emotional drain often signals that the body and mind have been taxed, yet these signals are not reasons for surrender. They are markers to be acknowledged, not excuses for inaction. Showing up in these moments does not require heroic effort. It requires strategic adaptation. Adjust the approach to suit the condition. Tasks may be scaled, focus narrowed, or intensity modified, but the commitment to act remains. Even minimal progress matters when energy is low, because consistency is more valuable than perfection. Action in a compromised state reinforces identity and builds momentum that endures beyond temporary fatigue. Preparation strengthens the capacity to act when energy dips. Habits, routines, and systems designed in advance reduce the reliance on fleeting willpower. When tasks are pre-planned, with clear steps and minimal friction, low-energy moments become manageable. A writer with a structured outline can produce meaningful work even when tired. An athlete with a predetermined exercise plan can train effectively despite soreness or fatigue. Preparation transforms low-energy states from obstacles into manageable conditions, allowing progress to continue without disruption. The key is removing barriers that increase decision fatigue and reliance on motivation alone. Small, deliberate actions are particularly effective when energy is low. Grand gestures are often impossible under fatigue, Yet incremental steps accumulate into meaningful outcomes. Writing a single paragraph, taking a 5-minute walk, or reviewing notes quietly may seem insignificant, but these actions maintain momentum and reinforce the habit of showing up. Progress does not demand perfection, it demands presence. Energy-limited actions are rarely glamorous, yet they are the backbone of long-term achievement. Each act of persistence reinforces discipline, signaling to the mind and body that commitment is not contingent on comfort or enthusiasm. Mental framing plays a critical role in overcoming low-energy resistance. Energy is often influenced as much by perception as by physical state. Approaching tasks with the mindset of opportunity rather than obligation can reduce the subjective burden. Viewing low-energy work as an essential step toward growth, skill, or results transforms discomfort into purposeful effort. This mental reframing strengthens resilience, helping the individual persist without surrendering to lethargy. Energy may fluctuate, but commitment and focus are cultivable qualities that endure when guided by intention and clarity of purpose. Environmental support is a potent ally in low-energy states. Surroundings can either amplify fatigue or facilitate action. A quiet, organized workspace, proper lighting, and minimal distractions reduce cognitive load, allowing the mind to focus even when attention is compromised. Tools and resources arranged for easy access prevent wasted effort and decision fatigue. By aligning the environment with the goal, effort becomes more accessible and less draining, making it possible to act consistently even under suboptimal conditions. The environment acts as an external scaffold, compensating for internal depletion and supporting disciplined action. Consistency is reinforced through the repetition of showing up during low-energy moments. Each time effort is applied despite discomfort, the mind internalizes the behavior as habitual. This repetition reduces reliance on willpower because identity begins to align with action. The individual becomes the type of person who acts, regardless of circumstance, rather than waiting for ideal conditions. Identity-driven consistency is more resilient than motivation-driven effort, because it is rooted in internal standards rather than fleeting external stimuli. Each difficult act performed strengthens this self-concept, creating a positive feedback loop of resilience and achievement. Strategic rest complements the practice of showing up under low energy. Energy management does not mean avoiding effort. It means optimizing recovery so that fatigue does not accumulate to the point of dysfunction. Intentional breaks, quality sleep, proper nutrition, and mindfulness practices replenish the body and mind, creating a balance between exertion and restoration. When energy is managed effectively, low-energy periods become temporary and manageable rather than chronic obstacles. Discipline includes understanding limits, respecting recovery, and maintaining the capacity to persist consistently over time. Accountability amplifies the ability to show up when energy wanes. Sharing goals with others, tracking progress, or establishing systems of check-ins strengthens commitment. External accountability provides motivation during moments when internal energy is insufficient to sustain action alone. It creates a structure that encourages persistence and reduces the risk of giving in to fatigue. Social support or structured feedback does not replace personal responsibility. It reinforces the practice of presence and perseverance in challenging conditions. Reflection and learning are essential for refining the approach. Reviewing how actions were performed under low-energy conditions allows insight into personal strengths, weaknesses, and strategies that work. Did scaling tasks help maintain consistency? Did environmental adjustments reduce friction? Were mental reframing techniques effective? By analyzing patterns and outcomes, the individual gains tools for improving future performance. Continuous refinement ensures that low-energy moments become opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to achievement. The cumulative effect of showing up when energy is low is transformative. Over time, resilience strengthens, habits solidify, and the mind becomes capable of sustained focus regardless of physical or emotional state. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become manageable, and the capacity for disciplined action expands. Energy fluctuations no longer dictate results. Consistent presence does. Those who master this skill achieve progress, not because conditions are perfect, but because commitment is unwavering, flexible, and deliberate. Ultimately, showing up when energy is low is a testament to self-mastery. It is the practice of prioritizing long-term goals over temporary comfort, of honoring commitments to oneself regardless of circumstance. The strength cultivated through these moments becomes a foundation for excellence, persistence, and continuous growth. Energy will always fluctuate, but the decision to act consistently, even under depletion, ensures that progress continues, limits are surpassed, and potential is realized. Discipline is proven in the quiet, uncomfortable moments, and mastery is forged in the presence of fatigue, not in its absence. The principle is clear: embrace action when conditions are unfavorable. Adjust the approach to match energy levels, utilize environment and systems to reduce friction, practice small, meaningful steps, and reflect to improve. Each decision to show up strengthens resilience, reinforces identity, and compounds into extraordinary results. Life is unpredictable, energy is fleeting, and motivation is unreliable. Yet those who persist consistently, even when drained, move steadily toward mastery, achievement, and the realization of their highest potential. Number 7. Rewire identity through daily repetition. Change begins not in circumstances but in perception, specifically how you perceive yourself. Most people focus on goals, outcomes, or external achievements, yet transformation is rarely sustained unless it begins internally. Identity, the set of beliefs and self-perceptions that govern behavior, shapes the way you act, think, and respond to challenges. Daily repetition is the vehicle through which identity is rewired. Every consistent action reinforces a version of yourself, gradually replacing old patterns with new truths. To transform your life, it is not enough to act. You must act in ways that confirm and solidify the person you aspire to become. Identity is deeply tied to habits. Habits are the expressions of who you believe yourself to be. Someone who identifies as disciplined exercises daily. Someone who identifies as organized maintains order, and someone who identifies as a learner invests in growth. The converse is equally true. Habitual actions reinforce identity. If you repeatedly neglect responsibilities, indulge distractions, or avoid discomfort, your internal narrative aligns with inaction. Daily repetition functions as the sculptor of self-concept. Each deliberate choice, each small act performed consistently sends a message to the subconscious: this is who I am. Over time, these repeated actions redefine the framework of identity itself. The first step is clarity. Before identity can be rewired, it must be consciously defined. Determine the qualities, behaviors, and values that represent the person you wish to become. Specificity is key. Avoid vague aspirations such as be better or be successful. Define traits that are observable in daily behavior, such as I am disciplined, I read daily, or I maintain focus in challenging situations. Clear definitions act as a blueprint for repetition, ensuring each action directly reinforces the desired identity. Without clarity, repetition becomes aimless, and habits fail to align with transformation. Repetition is effective when it is deliberate and consistent. It is not merely performing tasks, but performing them with intention. Each action must be connected to the identity being built. For example, writing one page every day is not simply about completing a task. It signals to yourself that you are a writer. Exercising consistently is not just about physical improvement. It confirms the identity of a person who takes care of their body. These small but deliberate actions, repeated daily, gradually rewire neural pathways and reshape self-perception. The mind begins to internalize these behaviors as intrinsic to who you are. Consistency outweighs intensity. Massive bursts of effort, followed by inactivity, have little effect on identity formation. The mind interprets sporadic performance as temporary behavior rather than a defining characteristic. Daily repetition, even in small increments, accumulates into undeniable evidence of identity. One push-up every day, one paragraph, one disciplined decision reinforces a truth. You are a person who does these things consistently. Consistency signals to the subconscious that this is not situational, it is inherent. The slow accumulation of repeated acts, performed without exception, is the true engine of transformation. The role of reflection cannot be overstated. Daily repetition becomes meaningful only when paired with awareness. Reflect on how each action aligns with the identity you are cultivating. Are the choices reinforcing the person you want to be, or are they maintaining old patterns? Honest assessment allows refinement, ensuring that repetition remains deliberate and purposeful. Journaling, mental review, or structured reflection at the end of the day strengthens the link between behavior and identity, enhancing the mind's capacity to internalize new truths. Awareness transforms mere activity into intentional evolution. Small wins are the building blocks of identity change. Each repeated act, no matter how minor, is evidence of capability. Identity is not constructed through grand gestures alone. It is forged in the accumulation of small, consistent behaviors. Reading 5 pages each day, completing a short workout, or taking time to plan effectively sends a signal that becomes self-reinforcing. These small victories are proof to the subconscious that the desired identity is real, gradually replacing old narratives that may have suggested inconsistency, weakness, or inadequacy. Obstacles and setbacks are inevitable, but they are part of the rewiring process. Identity transformation is not about perfection. It is about resilience and continuity. Missing a day does not erase progress, but repeated inaction or rationalization can reinforce old patterns. Responding to challenges with persistence, adjusting without abandoning the core practice, strengthens identity because it communicates that effort persists even when circumstances are difficult. Identity is fortified not when life is easy, but when daily repetition continues despite friction, fatigue, or uncertainty. Environment acts as a catalyst for reinforcing identity. Surroundings, cues, and tools all shape behavior. To internalize a new identity, design your environment to support repeated action. A writer keeps notebooks and pens accessible. A disciplined professional organizes their workspace for focus. A learner keeps books within reach. These cues reduce resistance, making repetition effortless and natural. When the environment is aligned with the behaviors that define your desired self, daily action becomes automatic, reinforcing identity without relying solely on willpower. Language and self-talk are equally important. The words used to describe oneself shape belief and behavior. Saying, "I am someone who writes daily," rather than "I try to write sometimes," strengthens the link between action and identity. Language is not superficial. It conditions thought patterns, which in turn drive behavior, Daily repetition paired with intentional self-affirmation cements the neural and psychological pathways that establish the desired identity. Each statement, backed by action, becomes a truth the mind cannot ignore. Systems accelerate identity transformation. Embedding desired behaviors into structured routines reduces reliance on motivation and increases the likelihood of repetition. Habits that occur at fixed times or as part of rituals remove ambiguity and friction. Systems act as scaffolding that supports consistency, making the alignment between daily action and identity more reliable. Repetition becomes seamless, embedded in the rhythm of life, rather than forced or intermittent. The more integrated the system, the more natural the identity becomes. Patience is fundamental. Identity is not rewired overnight. Neural pathways and subconscious beliefs require repeated reinforcement over weeks, months, and years. The process may feel invisible initially, but each repeated action compounds, reshaping perception, behavior, and character. The slow, relentless accumulation of disciplined, intentional behavior creates a transformation that is profound and lasting. Understanding this compounding effect allows for persistence even when immediate results are not apparent. Over time, the repetition of aligned behaviors produces internalized identity. Actions no longer require constant deliberation. They become automatic expressions of self. Choices are made consistently because they are congruent with who you believe yourself to be. Resistance diminishes, discipline strengthens, and progress accelerates. This identity-centered approach ensures that growth is sustainable because it is not reliant on motivation, external validation, or fleeting emotional states. The person you are becomes inseparable from the actions you take. Ultimately, rewiring identity through daily repetition is the cornerstone of mastery. Transformation is not found in lofty goals, sporadic effort, or temporary inspiration. It is built in the quiet, consistent, intentional acts repeated every day. Each action reinforces belief. Each repetition strengthens neural patterns, and each day lived deliberately moves you closer to the version of yourself capable of achieving extraordinary outcomes. The process transforms not only what you do, but who you are, creating lasting change that endures under pressure, temptation, and challenge. The principle is simple but profound. Decide who you want to be. Identify the behaviors that define that person. Repeat them daily. Reflect and align your environment and mindset to support consistency. Through this approach, identity becomes malleable, behavior becomes automatic, and growth becomes inevitable. Repetition is not merely practice, it is the architect of self, the engine of transformation, and the force that turns intention into reality. Number 8. Break goals into atomic actions. Ambitious goals often intimidate because they appear enormous, complex, and distant. The mind resists grand objectives because the path seems unclear and the effort overwhelming. Progress stalls not from lack of ability, but from perceiving the journey as insurmountable. The solution is deceptively simple, yet profoundly transformative. Break goals into atomic actions. Atomic actions are the smallest, most fundamental steps that directly contribute to a larger objective. Each is tangible, actionable, and immediately achievable. By reducing monumental aspirations into manageable units, the mind is able to focus, execute, and build momentum, turning seemingly impossible goals into a series of deliberate, conquerable tasks. The power of atomic actions lies in clarity. When a goal is abstract, write a book, build a business, or get fit, the mind struggles to plan concrete steps. Anxiety, procrastination, and distraction creep in because the brain perceives risk and complexity. Atomic actions provide exact next moves, eliminating ambiguity. Writing one paragraph, Making one sales call or performing one push-up becomes the visible, achievable step. With each action completed, the brain receives feedback of progress, generating motivation and reinforcing the habit of execution. Clarity transforms intimidation into confidence, and action becomes inevitable. Atomic actions also mitigate the trap of perfectionism. Large goals often paralyze because the mind demands flawless execution. This pursuit of perfection inhibits starting, leads to overthinking, and stalls momentum. By breaking tasks into the smallest possible units, perfectionism loses its grip. Completing a small action does not require ideal circumstances or maximum energy. It only requires presence and commitment. Each tiny step moves the objective forward, providing the psychological reinforcement of accomplishment while maintaining progress even under imperfect conditions. Momentum accumulates faster than perfection ever could. Another critical aspect of atomic actions is their role in building habits. Repetition of small, deliberate behaviors gradually rewires the brain to internalize these actions as part of identity. Atomic actions bridge the gap between intention and consistent execution. For example, exercising 5 minutes a day may seem negligible, but repeated consistently, it conditions the mind and body to identify as someone who moves daily. Completing 1 page of writing daily establishes the identity of a writer. These incremental steps, when repeated, compound into skill, habit, and eventual mastery. The aggregation of small actions eclipses occasional bursts of effort in shaping long-term results. Prioritization works hand in hand with atomic actions. Not every small step carries equal weight. Some moves have greater leverage toward achieving the overarching goal. Identify atomic actions that produce the largest impact relative to effort and focus on executing them first. This strategic approach ensures that energy is applied efficiently and progress is measurable. Each atomic action should be selected for its direct contribution to the larger objective, eliminating wasted effort and creating a pathway where each completed step is meaningful. Prioritization sharpens focus, streamlines execution, and accelerates achievement. Atomic actions also reduce decision fatigue. When a large goal looms, the mind must constantly determine the next move, creating mental friction and increasing the likelihood of procrastination. Predefined, small steps simplify decision-making. By knowing precisely what to do next, momentum is maintained without wasting energy on choice. The clarity of the immediate next action removes hesitation, enhances productivity, and allows consistent progress even when motivation fluctuates. Decision-making becomes streamlined, and the path forward is clear and achievable. Psychologically, atomic actions create positive feedback loops. Completion of a single step generates a sense of accomplishment, which triggers dopamine release and reinforces the desire to continue. These small wins accumulate, sustaining motivation and building confidence. Over time, the individual begins to associate action with tangible results, rather than vague promises. Each atomic step validates capability, strengthens commitment, and diminishes resistance. Motivation no longer depends on fleeting emotions. It becomes a natural consequence of observing measurable progress, no matter how incremental. Implementation requires specificity. Each atomic action should be unambiguous, measurable, and concrete. Vague steps such as work on project are insufficient. They leave room for avoidance. Instead, define precise, tangible actions, like outline 3 paragraphs, research 5 competitors, or write 1 function of code. The more exact the step, the easier it is to act upon immediately. Specificity reduces friction, clarifies expectations, and provides a clear indicator of completion. Completing defined atomic actions strengthens accountability and reinforces a sense of control over progress. Atomic actions also enable flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and large goals can feel derailed by unforeseen circumstances. By operating in small units, adjustments are easier to implement without losing momentum. If a day is disrupted, even a single atomic action maintains the trajectory of progress. The process is resilient, adaptable, and continuous. Flexibility ensures that obstacles do not halt forward motion, making it possible to persist under changing conditions. Momentum is preserved because the goal is always approached in manageable increments, rather than waiting for ideal circumstances. Tracking atomic actions amplifies their effectiveness. Recording completion, measuring frequency, and reviewing progress turns effort into data. Tracking reinforces accountability, provides insight into patterns, and highlights areas needing improvement. This transparency allows for iterative adjustment, ensuring each action remains aligned with the ultimate goal. Tracking also produces a visual representation of progress, further reinforcing confidence, consistency, and discipline. Each completed action becomes evidence of capability, turning abstract goals into tangible achievements. Atomic actions cultivate resilience. They teach the mind to tolerate small discomforts, confront challenges incrementally, and persist despite fatigue or distraction. Large tasks often intimidate because the brain anticipates extensive effort. Breaking goals into micro-units removes psychological barriers, allowing focus on what can be done immediately. Each completed atomic action reduces mental resistance to the next, creating a momentum chain that sustains performance through difficulty. Resilience grows naturally as the mind learns that progress is possible, one deliberate step at a time. The compounding effect of atomic actions cannot be overstated. A single small step may seem trivial, but repeated daily, these steps accumulate into significant outcomes. Skills improve, habits solidify, and long-term goals are reached almost inevitably. The aggregation of minor, consistent effort often surpasses sporadic bursts of high-intensity work. Atomic actions transform overwhelming aspirations into a series of achievable victories, ensuring that large goals are no longer abstract dreams, but inevitable results of consistent, deliberate practice. Ultimately, breaking goals into atomic actions is about control, clarity, and consistency. It is the practice of transforming intimidation into actionable steps, complexity into simplicity, and aspiration into reality. Every goal can be approached incrementally, every obstacle mitigated by the smallest deliberate step. Atomic actions provide the framework for sustained progress, identity alignment, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Mastery, achievement, and personal growth are not products of luck or sudden inspiration. They are the result of small, precise, consistent actions that accumulate over time, reshaping life into a series of intentional, unstoppable victories. The principle is clear. Define the goal, dissect it into the smallest possible steps, prioritize for impact, act consistently, track progress, and adjust as needed. By focusing on atomic actions, large goals become approachable, habits are reinforced, momentum is sustained, and success becomes inevitable. Each step is a victory, each day a building block, and the culmination is the realization of objectives that once seemed unreachable. Atomic actions convert ambition into measurable, achievable, and unstoppable progress. Number 9. Replace excuses with immediate execution. Excuses are the silent chains that prevent progress, subtle yet powerful enough to derail even the most capable individuals. They appear in countless forms: fatigue, lack of time, insufficient resources, emotional discomfort, or waiting for perfect conditions. Each excuse carries the illusion of reason, making inaction feel justified. Yet in truth, excuses are the mind's way of avoiding responsibility, escaping discomfort, or delaying effort. Immediate execution is the antidote. It is the deliberate choice to act the moment an opportunity arises, to bridge the gap between intention and reality, and to replace hesitation with motion. Execution transforms potential into tangible results and silences the voice of justification that holds growth hostage. The first principle is awareness. Excuses often operate unconsciously, embedded in thought patterns and habits. Recognizing when the mind generates an excuse is critical. Observe the internal dialogue that precedes procrastination. I don't have enough time, I'm too tired, or I'll do it later. Each statement is a signal that resistance has arisen, and it is an opportunity to choose action instead. Awareness creates a pause between impulse and response, allowing deliberate choice rather than passive surrender. Noticing excuses is the first step in neutralizing their power and reclaiming control over behavior. Immediate execution requires decisive action. Waiting for motivation, clarity, or perfect conditions is a trap, because these states are unreliable. Motivation is fleeting, and conditions are rarely ideal. Execution demands starting now, regardless of circumstance. Even small steps matter. Sending an email, writing a paragraph, or completing a single component of a task may seem minor, yet it initiates movement. Action, no matter how small, generates momentum and reduces the psychological weight of inaction. The first step catalyzes the next, creating a chain reaction that silences excuses and establishes consistency. Excuses are often fueled by fear. Fear of failure, judgment, or discomfort. Immediate execution bypasses fear by redirecting attention from possibility to action. Focusing on what can be done in the present removes room for justification. The mind becomes oriented toward doing rather than rationalizing. Fear loses potency when confronted with deliberate steps. Each completed action demonstrates capability and reinforces confidence, gradually transforming hesitation into initiative. By acting immediately, fear and excuses are replaced by tangible evidence of competence and progress. Breaking tasks into small, actionable components complements immediate execution. Large or complex objectives can feel paralyzing, providing fertile ground for excuses. Atomic actions, when executed promptly, reduce the mental friction that often gives rise to rationalizations. Sending one email, taking one photograph, or writing one sentence is more achievable than attempting the whole project at once. The mind its completion of small actions as progress, reinforcing momentum and making subsequent steps easier. Execution is not delayed by perception of scale when tasks are intentionally minimized and performed immediately. Environment and preparation amplify the ability to act without excuses. A workspace arranged for focus, resources at hand, and distractions minimized allow action to begin effortlessly. When tools, references, and plans are immediately accessible, execution requires minimal deliberation, reducing the chance for justification to intervene. Systems, routines, and pre-planned steps act as scaffolding that supports decisive action. Each layer of preparation decreases resistance, enabling the individual to move swiftly from intention to implementation. Accountability strengthens immediate execution. When commitments are made publicly or tracked meticulously, the cost of delay becomes tangible. Knowing that results are observed by oneself or others shifts focus from justification to delivery. Accountability does not replace discipline, but reinforces it, creating an external anchor that motivates action. This mechanism reduces the space for excuses to flourish, establishing a habit of immediate engagement and consistent follow-through. Mental framing is another critical element. Viewing execution as a non-negotiable obligation rather than an optional choice shifts perception. Actions are no longer contingent on mood, energy, or circumstance. They are extensions of identity and responsibility. This reframing transforms excuses into irrelevant background noise as immediate execution becomes a defining characteristic. The mind begins to anticipate action as the default response to opportunity or challenge, replacing hesitation with automatic initiative. Reflection and learning enhance the cycle of execution. After completing tasks promptly, analyze outcomes, identify obstacles, and refine strategies for future action. Reflection ensures that execution is effective rather than mindless. It allows the individual to recognize patterns of procrastination, understand triggers for excuses, and adjust approaches accordingly. Learning from immediate execution strengthens skill, reduces friction, and increases the likelihood of repeated, deliberate action. Each iteration reinforces competence, resilience, and the habit of prompt engagement. Immediate execution also cultivates resilience under adverse conditions. There will be moments of fatigue, stress, or distraction. Yet the discipline to act anyway develops mental toughness. Each time action is taken despite resistance, the brain rewires to associate progress with persistence rather than comfort. The mind becomes conditioned to respond to opportunity regardless of external or internal state. This resilience compounds over time, creating a foundation for sustained achievement even when motivation, clarity, or convenience are absent. Excuses are often rationalizations constructed to maintain comfort and avoid short-term discomfort, yet every excuse delayed is a lost opportunity. Execution transforms potential energy into kinetic energy, converting thought into measurable impact. The discipline to act immediately ensures that goals are approached daily, challenges are addressed proactively, and growth is continual. Each act of execution diminishes the credibility of excuses, creating a feedback loop where action reinforces identity, competence, and persistence. The cumulative effect of replacing excuses with immediate execution is transformative. Long-term success is built on the accumulation of actions, not intentions. Goals, once intimidating, become manageable as each step is promptly executed. Confidence grows because capability is proven in real time. Habits form naturally because action is consistent and predictable. Resistance diminishes because momentum builds faster than rationalizations can arise. This approach rewires the mind to prioritize doing over debating, achieving over justifying, and presence over procrastination. Ultimately, immediate execution is a principle of self-mastery. It is the act of choosing action over rationalization, progress over comfort, and results over deliberation. Excuses lose power because they are rendered irrelevant by consistent practice. The individual who commits to acting without delay demonstrates discipline, builds resilience, and accelerates achievement in every area of life. Execution is the bridge between intention and reality. Without it, goals remain abstract, potential goes unrealized, and excuses dictate the course of life. The principle is straightforward, yet profound. Recognize excuses, act immediately, break tasks into achievable steps, design systems and environments to facilitate movement, embrace accountability, and reinforce identity through consistent execution. Each moment of prompt action compounds, transforming intention into results, fear into confidence, and hesitation into mastery. Life favors those who act decisively. By replacing excuses with immediate execution, limits are shattered, progress becomes inevitable, and potential is realized with unstoppable momentum. Number 10. Protect consistency with strict boundaries. Consistency is the backbone of growth, discipline, and achievement. It is not enough to act sporadically with bursts of motivation. Lasting results emerge from repeated, sustained effort over time. However, consistency is fragile. Life presents endless opportunities for interruption, distraction, and compromise. Without clear boundaries, even the most disciplined individuals risk being pulled off course by external demands, internal impulses, or shifting priorities. Protecting consistency requires deliberate limits, unwavering rules, and non-negotiable standards that safeguard time, energy, and focus. Boundaries are not restrictions, they are enablers. They create the space in which action becomes routine, habits solidify, and progress becomes inevitable. The first step is identifying what matters most. Consistency cannot be maintained across every area of life simultaneously. Energy and attention are finite. Clarify your highest priorities, the goals, habits, and responsibilities that contribute most directly to long-term growth. This clarity informs which boundaries are necessary. Boundaries are tools to protect what is truly essential, not trivial or optional. They allow energy to flow toward meaningful actions rather than being dissipated on distractions, low-value commitments, or obligations that do not align with purpose. Protecting consistency begins with understanding the value of what is being defended. Once priorities are defined, boundaries must be explicit. Vague intentions are insufficient. Rules should be concrete and actionable. For example, designate fixed periods for focused work, define acceptable limits for social media, or set clear start and end times for commitments. These boundaries act as a framework that governs behavior, reducing ambiguity and preventing drift. When boundaries are clearly articulated, decisions become easier, and the mind no longer struggles to determine what to do in each moment. Structure itself reduces the likelihood of inconsistency because it creates a predictable, repeatable environment in which focus and discipline can thrive. Boundaries are most effective when non-negotiable. Flexibility is sometimes necessary, but excessive compromise erodes consistency. Saying just this once or I'll adjust later becomes a slippery slope, gradually dismantling habits and eroding momentum. Protecting consistency requires firmness, a willingness to enforce rules even when inconvenient or uncomfortable. The act of respecting boundaries reinforces identity, strengthens discipline, and communicates to the subconscious that progress is a priority, non-negotiable, and independent of circumstance. This rigidity in key areas ensures that small compromises do not accumulate into major setbacks. Environment design plays a crucial role in maintaining boundaries. Physical and digital spaces communicate rules to the brain and reduce the effort required to remain consistent. Remove triggers that encourage distraction, clutter, or avoidance. Arrange workspaces to signal focus and productivity. Limit accessibility to digital interruptions through tools, settings, or designated zones. Boundaries become easier to enforce when the environment supports them passively. By shaping surroundings intentionally, the mind is less likely to be hijacked by convenience, impulse, or temptation, making consistent action more natural and automatic. Time is a critical resource to protect through boundaries. Schedule blocks of dedicated effort for high-priority activities and defend them rigorously. Communicate these boundaries to others when necessary to prevent interruptions. Time boundaries are not merely about efficiency. They are about preserving the rhythm of consistency. Repeatedly honoring these time commitments reinforces habit formation and creates momentum. When each day is punctuated by intentional, protected blocks of action, the likelihood of sustaining progress over weeks and months increases exponentially. Energy management complements temporal boundaries. High-value tasks demand focus, yet energy fluctuates naturally. Establish routines that align effort with peak energy periods. Avoid overcommitment, which depletes reserves and undermines the capacity to remain consistent. Protecting consistency is not only about saying no to distractions, but also about managing internal resources to ensure that action can be sustained over time. When energy is respected, adherence to boundaries becomes more feasible, allowing consistency to be maintained even during periods of fatigue or stress. Accountability strengthens boundary enforcement. Sharing goals, progress, and commitments with others provides external reinforcement of personal rules. Social expectations or structured oversight creates a mechanism that discourages compromise and encourages adherence. Accountability partners, mentors, or systems of tracking can act as additional boundaries, ensuring that consistency is protected even when internal motivation wanes. This external reinforcement reinforces the internal commitment, forming a dual-layered defense against inconsistency. Boundaries also apply to mental focus. Protecting consistency is not solely about external control. The mind itself is a source of potential distraction. Thoughts that rationalize, delay, justify indulgence, or foster comparison must be recognized and managed. Mental boundaries involve directing attention deliberately, avoiding negative self-talk, and refusing to entertain excuses. Cognitive discipline ensures that internal interference does not undermine external structures. By setting clear rules for thought patterns, the mind becomes an ally rather than an obstacle, preserving momentum and reinforcing habitual action. Flexibility must be strategic, not reactive. Boundaries are not meant to create rigidity that stifles adaptability. They exist to preserve what is essential while allowing controlled adjustments. Life will inevitably present disruptions, but the key is to respond within the framework of deliberate rules. Temporary adjustments are acceptable if they serve long-term goals, not if they enable habitual compromise. Strategic flexibility maintains consistency without surrendering control. It balances resilience with adaptability, ensuring that boundaries support growth rather than inhibit it. Reflection solidifies boundary effectiveness. Regularly reviewing whether established boundaries are respected, effective, and aligned with priorities prevents gradual erosion. Adjustments can be made to strengthen weak points or respond to new challenges. Consistency is maintained not through blind adherence, but through active monitoring and refinement. Each evaluation reinforces commitment, highlights patterns of success or weakness, and ensures that boundaries continue to serve their purpose, protecting focus, energy, and progress from external and internal interference. The cumulative effect of strict boundaries is profound. They create a space in which habits can thrive, actions are consistent, and progress compounds. Without boundaries, even the most motivated individual is vulnerable to distraction, fatigue, and compromise. With them, effort becomes protected, deliberate, and sustainable. Boundaries are the infrastructure of discipline, the invisible architecture that transforms intention into reliable execution. Every action repeated consistently within these boundaries contributes to mastery, achievement, and long-term fulfillment. Ultimately, protecting consistency with strict boundaries is an act of self-respect, foresight, and intentional living. It is a recognition that energy, focus, and time are finite, and that without structure, progress will be fragmented and slow. Boundaries do not restrict life. They amplify potential by ensuring that effort is directed purposefully and consistently. Discipline, growth, and achievement are the natural consequences of actions preserved from disruption, repeated over time, and safeguarded by clear, unwavering rules. Boundaries transform potential into reality, creating a life defined by deliberate, unstoppable progress. The principle is clear. Identify priorities, create explicit and actionable rules, defend them non-negotiably, shape the environment to reinforce them, manage time and energy effectively, implement accountability, protect mental focus, allow strategic flexibility, and review regularly. Each boundary preserves the integrity of action, reinforces identity, and ensures that consistent effort remains unbroken. Consistency protected by strict boundaries becomes a force multiplier, turning small repeated actions into extraordinary results and ensuring that progress is both inevitable and sustainable.